let's say I wanted to get into romance books. Where would I even start? The romance genre is so popular, and it has been for a really long time. So about a month ago, I decided I would like to dive in a little bit, learn more about it. But there's so many of them. Where do you even start? Well, if you've been here before, you already know the answer. As always, we begin at the beginning, which is why I did a little digging and found what is considered to be the very first romance book. Originally published in 1740, this is Pamela, or Virtue Rewarded, by Samuel Richardson. Now, before we dig in, I want to mention that there was no way I was going to read the first ever romance book written by a man, by the way, all by myself. Which is why I enlisted 3 other incredible content creators, and we decided to do this reading through the history of romance project together as a new podcast called The Panelists. The very first episode is up now on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, and if you want to dig a little bit deeper than I will in this short video, as well as follow along with our journey, please make sure to go check it out. We had a ton of fun recording this first episode, and we are really excited to start reading all of the most important romance books through history. Pamela is told through a series of letters written by Pamela herself, a 15-year-old maidservant. When the lady of her house passes away, the house and all of the staff are inherited by her son, Mr. B. And Mr. B becomes obsessed with Pamela. Obsessed in a way that is grossly inappropriate and terrifying. In fact, the first half of this book reads much more like a horror thriller than a romance book. We were all genuinely terrified for Pamela's safety. He reads her letters, he hides in closets listening to her conversations, he kidnaps her. But for some reason, right in the middle of the story, there's this tone shift, and suddenly Pamela is into him? Which as a reader gave me the most severe case of emotional whiplash I have ever felt in my life. Ultimately, in the end, through her unquestionable virtue, Pamela is rewarded. With a terrible husband and rich people being nicer to her-ish. Samuel Richardson originally imagined this book as somewhat of a morality self-help guide, so much so that the epilogue is essentially a TED Talk on what you should have learned from this book. Namely, that women have a lot of responsibilities as far as being virtuous in society, and that men really have no responsibility. They can't help themselves, it's all on the women. If you haven't caught on yet, this book has not aged well. And yet, despite its horrific nature, there are still aspects of this story that resonate in traditional romance books. In many ways, this does have elements of the enemies to lovers trope, and many aspects of this book might actually be right at home in the dark romance genre of today. Not to mention that this was the first novel to use the epistolary format of telling a story through letters, which is still used across genres today. Ultimately, Pamela, or Virtue Rewarded, is a bad book, and reading its 520 pages is something I might only recommend for my worst enemy. Yet in the historical context of romance books, yeah, a lot of what it does has survived to today. But that being said, my main takeaway from this book was yikes. Big yikes. If you'd like to hear more about the history of this book and our thoughts, please make sure to check out the first episode of the Panelists podcast. There is a link in my bio if you want to check it out, and I would love if you gave it a listen and let us know your thoughts. The next book we'll be reading for this romance project is, of course, Pride and Prejudice, but I'm interested to know what you think are some of the most important romance books through history that you think should be included in this project. Make sure to let me know, and don't read this. Please don't.